Hello, my bomb blowers and module masters, and today I am here with another Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes modded module tutorial, and today I am here with the module Ribbit Programming. In Ribbit Programming, you are tasked with programming all of the inputs of a game of Frogger based on the initial state. This is as difficult as it sounds. Let's go ahead and get started. This module does require a bit of edge work, so I do have the edge work cut on for this tutorial.
All available experts, please report to room A9.
I will only do one example for this tutorial because this module is quite complicated and lengthy, so just keep that in mind. So here's Ribbit Programming. You've got the main game, you've got a D-pad, you can press all four directional buttons, and the center button as the forms of input. You've got a start button and a reset button. So, the goal is to get the frog from the bottom to the top, without getting hit by any of the cars, or lorries as they're called, and without falling into the river. You also want to make sure the frog lands into one of the goals, which are in between these patches of deadly grass. So, how do we go about doing this? Well, first off, let's set up some ground terminology. If you notice these white ticks, the space in between these ticks represent 1 unit. So the entire game is 7 units wide, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 11 units tall. You can count for yourself, I'm not going to count for you. Additionally, each unit is made up of 10 subunits. So if we look at the frog, for example, he is in the middle of unit 3. I'm going to be numbering the units from 0 to 6 from left to right. So this is unit 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The frog is in the smack dab middle of unit 3. So he's taking up subunits 3.0 to 3.9. This truck is taking up subunits 0.0 to 1.9. So, with that important clarification out of the way of what units and subunits are, this will be critical to solving the module. So, like Frogger, you want to get past this road section
Please return to your stations.
without bumping into a car. What counts as bumping into a car is if the frog and the car share any subunits. So, let's say the frog was, instead of being on the bottom, it was on this unit here. The frog would be taking up units 3.0 to 3.9. This car is taking up subunits 4.0 to 4.9. Which means that they're not in collision. However, if the frog were in the next row with this car, notice how the car is pointing left, meaning that it's going to be traveling left. So it's taking up the same subunits as this car, and if the frog were here, as soon as the car moves left 1 subunit, it would be taking up subunits 3.9 to 4.8, and because the frog is taking up subunit 3.9, the frog and the car will come into contact, which means the frog will die. In the river, you want to make sure that the frog shares at least 1 subunit with either a log or a turtle at any given time. Now do note that all of the moving objects will wrap around. So when the program starts, this thing's going to move towards the left and then reappear on the right side of the screen. Same thing with these turtles, they're already wrapping around. So this is the leftmost turtle. And when the program starts, this turtle's going to start wrapping around to the right side of the screen. And that's how the wraparound works. The moving objects will wrap around, but the frog will not. If you attempt to jump off of the left side of the screen, or the right side of the screen, the frog's going to die. I think the same happens if you try to jump down, I don't know, but don't do that. Anyway. With the fact that these objects do wrap around and the frog does not. Let's say the frog was on this turtle. As it moves left, the frog is not going to move. So when this turtle fully wraps around, and if the frog is still on that turtle, the frog will no longer share any subunits with the turtle, meaning the frog will drown in the river. So the frog can essentially get shoved off of the left edge. or the right edge on the logs. If the frog were here and the log were on the right side of the screen and it wraps around to the left, then that's death of the frog. So we've gone over the majority of the ways to frog and not. The frog will also die if you send in 5 commands of nothing happening. The way the module works is that you have to input all of the movements that the frog will make. The 4 movements are, of course, up, left, right, and down, although we're probably never going to be using the down button. Maybe we will in such rare circumstances, like you have to evacuate where you are but in the river, but it's just, I never use it. There's also this thing in the middle, which represents no movement. The way that this works is that each of the moving objects, the cars and the water objects, will move a certain amount of subpixels. When they all move that certain amount of subpixels, the frog will then make its movement. After that, the moving objects will then move their specified amount of subpixels again, and the frog will then make its movement. The manual explains this. Let's see. Where does it explain it? Probably should have. It's something to do with N. Okay. So, while the program executes, the moving items will move sideways at a constant rate. The frog's own movement occurs instantaneously at every integer time step. The first command occurs at time equals 1. So, we're going to call time 1. We're going to call this n equals 1. So, when the first command will execute at n equals 1. At n equals 1, the cars will have moved a certain amount of subunits. So how do we determine how these things move? What I'm going to be doing is calculating 8 expressions for each of the 8 moving objects. I'm going to keep track of the leftmost subunit of each of these objects. Every single object starts in a whole numbered subunit. So the leftmost subunit for this car is subunit 0, 0.0. These 2 cars start at subunits 4. And then this truck also starts at subunit 0. This log starts at subunit 0. The leftmost subunit the turtles are in is subunit 6. Because if we look at this turtle and move left, we'll notice that there is still a turtle to its left. If we move left from this turtle, there is no turtle on its left, meaning that this is the leftmost turtle. If we look at this log, if we look at this piece of the log, there is another piece to its left, so it can't be the leftmost piece of the log. And if we look at this piece of the log and go left, it's a river, meaning that this is the leftmost piece of the log, which is in unit 1. Then we can determine that the leftmost unit of this turtle is at unit 6. Next, we're going to pay attention to the direction in which these things are moving. The cars move in the direction they face. So this car is moving towards the left, that is the front of the car, not a spoiler. So when they're moving left, that means their subunit value is going to decrease. So we're going to subtract. This one's facing towards the right, and when it's moving to the right, its subunit value is increasing, so we're going to add. This is moving towards the left, this is moving towards the right. And then for the logs and turtles, logs will always move towards the right, and turtles will always move towards the left. I remember this because they travel in opposite directions, and the turtles are looking towards the left. Now what? So at every time n, the cars and the turtles will move a certain number of subunits. What number subunits do they move? Well, let's refer to these 2 sections. So this is street lane 1, lane 2, lane 3, and lane 4, and this is river lane 1, 2, 3, and 4. First, let's take the number of batteries, 3. Let's look at the car in that street line number, this one. It will move 0.1 subunits every single time n. So it's going to move 0.1 units for every n. It's starting in unit 4, so that's why that's here, and it's going to move left 0.1 times n units. For the other 3 cars, I have it mirrored here because it makes more sense to me to go from top to bottom than from bottom to top. But just know to move up, you press To move forward, you press up here and not down as you do in my strategy I'm showing you in this tutorial. Anyway, for the other 3 cars, we're going to take the first 3 characters of the serial number. We're going to divide them by 10. We convert all letters to their alphabetical equivalents, so E is the 5th letter of the alphabet, and 5 divided by 10 is 0.5. 7 divided by 10 is 0.7, and then 9 divided by 10 is 0.9. And then we multiply all of these by n. Then for the river, we do a very similar thing, but instead we take the number of indicators, which is 2. We take river lane 2, and its rate is 0.1. Then we take the last 3 serial number characters and assign those speeds to the other 3 lanes. So we've got golf, which is number 7 of the alphabet. We have Victor, which is 22, the 22nd letter of the alphabet. And then 5, which is 0.5 times n. I'm going to modulo all of these lines by 7. So when an object moves off the left side of the screen, it's going to become negative. When you modulo 7, you're adding 7 to that negative number, which means that its leftmost subunit, when it moves 0.1 units towards the left, is going to become subunit 6.9. And if you're moving right, we're going to go from unit 6.9 to what would be subunit 7.0, but 7.0 modulo 7 is going to be 0.0, which is the leftmost subunit of the game. Awesome. Let's establish n equals. It starts at n equals 0 to represent the starting configuration. And I'm going to keep track of an x-coordinate of the frog's leftmost subunit, which is going to start at unit number 3. And then, for each of these lines, I'm going to add a comment, which the text of the calculator interprets as hashtags, like in Python. I'm going to include the length of the moving objects in the lane. So for this, it's a length of 1, a length of 1, length of 1, and a length of 2. For every Ribbit module, you're going to have 3 cars of length 1 and 1 car of length 2. The turtles and logs can vary from anywhere to 2 to 5 units. So this log is 1, 2, 3, 4 units. These turtles are 2 units. This log is 2 units, and these turtles are 3 units. To solve the module, when you are on the turtles, you need to move up into one of the 3 goals. The grass patches are deadly, you don't want to jump there. The middle of the goals are located in subunits 1.5, 3.5, and 5.5. What counts as a frog touching a goal is if the goal and the frog share at least 5 subunits. If the frog and the goal share less than 5 subunits, the frog will die upon reaching the top of the screen. Okay, now that we've gone through all of that trouble, let's go ahead and get started actually solving a Ribbit programming. I'm going to include a line of, let's say, 20 numbers, because that's probably going to be what I need to solve the module, but we'll see. Alright, so the first thing that happens is that each of the moving objects will move 1 time. So these are the leftmost subunits of each of the objects when the frog makes its first move. So we are at x equals 3. If we move up from this lane, we would be moving into this lane. This lane contains a car whose leftmost subunit is at 6.5, and it lasts 1 whole subunit. So it's going to go from subunit 6.5 to 7.4, but 7.4 modulo 7 is going to be subunit 0.4. If we moved up from the patch of grass into the street, we're going to be taking up units 3 to 3.9, which means we will not come into contact with the car. Let's go ahead and move up. When we move to n equals 2, the cars and the logs will move again. So now, the car is taking up subunits 6 to 6.9. You have to make sure that when you move up, or when you're staying in a lane, that the frog will not die in the current generation as well as the next generation. So when I moved up in n equals 1, I had to make sure that the car didn't come into contact with me based on its subunit 6.5 to 0.4. At n equals 2, I have to make sure that the car is not going to contact with me still. So I have to make sure that I don't share any subunits with the car in subunits 6 to 6.9, which I don't. Let's look at the next lane. Its leftmost unit is at 5.4 and it is moving towards the right. So in the next generation, it's going to be moving further right, which means it's going to, I believe, 6.1. It's taking up 5.4 to 6.3. We're taking up 3 to 3.9, so we're safe to move up again. Let's move up again, and let's go to n equals 3. Next, we look at the next lane. This car is moving left at a very slow rate. It's taking up subunits 3.7 to 4.6. We're taking up 3.0 to 3.9, meaning we're going to share some subunits with the car if we try to move up right now, so we can't do that. Because the car is moving left, I'm going to move in the opposite direction of travel. So I'm going to move right. When you move right, I'm actually going to remove x equals. When you move right, you're adding 1 to the frog's leftmost subunit. Similarly, when you move left, you're going to subtract 1 from the frog's leftmost subunit. This is going to get a little bit janky when we get into the river, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, quite literally. Okay, so I've moved right. Now n is going to be equal to 4. Gotta make sure that we didn't die. It was at 6.1 to 0.0, which we're taking up 4 to 4.9, which we wouldn't come in contact with. Now it's taking up 6.8 to 0.7, which we're not going to come into contact with. Now we take up subunits 4 to 4.9. The car takes up subunits 3.6 to 4.5. We're still going to come into contact with it if we try to move up, so let's move right again. If we move right, we're taking up 5 to 5.9. This thing is taking up 6.8 to 0.7, so we're good. Let's move to the next time n. It's taking up 0.5 to 1.4. We're not going to come into contact with it. Now, we're taking up 5 to 5.9. The car in the next lane is taking up units 3.5 to 4.6. We're not going to come into contact with it, and it's going to move left, which means it's moving away from us, so we can safely move up to the next lane. Let's move to the next time n, and it's taking up 3.4 to 4.3. It's not going to come into contact with us. Let's look at the next car. It's taking up 2 units, starting at 5.4, which means it's going to go up to 0.3. From 5.4 to 6.3, and then from 6.4 to 0.3. So, if we move up, we're going to come into contact with it because we're taking units 5 to 5.9, and the truck is taking up units 5.4. It's going to share 5.4 to 5.9 with us. So what I'm going to do is actually wait. So when you wait, you don't move, but the n increases by 1. So the car in our lane is from 3.3 to 4.2, again, moving away from us, so we're not in any danger. We take up 5 to 5.9, and now the car is taking up 6.3 to 1.2. We are safe to move up. At time n equals 8, it's now taking up 0.2 to 2.1. We are at 5 to 5.9, so we're good. The next lane is a patch of grass before the river. So we're just going to move straight up to the patch of grass. We can do whatever we want, left and right, on that patch of grass to prepare for the river section. Now add 1 to our time n, and this is where we are. So the log in front of us takes up 4 units with its leftmost subunit at 6.3. So it's going to take 6.3 to 0.2, 0.2 to 1, 6.3 to 0.2, 0.3 to 1.2, 1.3 to 2.2, and then 2.3 to 3.2. We're taking up 5 to 5.9, so if we try to move on to the river, onto this log, we're not going to share any subunits with this log, so we will fall into the river and drown. I'm going to move towards the log by going left. We're going to subtract 1 from our subunits, and move to the next time n. Now, the leftmost subunit of the log is at 0. It's taking up 4 units, so the rightmost unit is going to be up to 3.9. We wouldn't share any subunits with the log, so we would die if we tried to move forward. So I'm going to move left again. The reason why I'm moving left again is because, let's say I didn't move left, for example. At the next time n, it's taking up 0.7 to 4.6. Well, that's all and well. We can move up to the log, because we're sharing from 4 to 4.6 with a log. However, we would be at the rightmost edge of the log. In fact, we're going to be hanging off the log a little. Why I'm going to move left in this generation is because if I'm one more subunit to the left, I'm going to be closer to the middle of the log, which gives me more leverage to move left or right on the log in order to prepare myself to land on the turtles. So cool. I'm now in units 3 to 3.9, and if I move up, I'm going to be safely on the log, so I'm going to move up. We're going to actually not change our X and then move to the next time N. This is taking up 2 units from 4.8, so 4.8 to 5.9, and then... Sorry, 4.8 to 5.7, and then 5.8 to 6.7. We're taking up 3, 2, 3, 4, so we are not going to be coming into contact with the turtle anytime soon. So this is moving towards the right and this is moving towards the left. I want to get towards the left edge of the turtle by staying on the right edge of the log. So I'm actually going to be moving up. Sorry, I'm moving right, not up. This kind of defeats the purpose of what I did earlier, but shut up, I didn't think that far. Anyway, next time N is 13. We're still on the log. And actually, because we spent... let's see here. I need to go back a couple of iterations, actually, because I made a little bit of a boo-boo. So we're at time N equals 11, and then in N equals 11, we moved up onto the log. When we went to time N equals 12, I made a mistake, and good thing I caught it. So when you spend 1 time N on a log, the log is going to carry you with it. So I moved 0.7 subunits because I was on this log. So now it's taking up 1.4 to, what, 5.3? Yeah. And I'm on 3.7, I am firmly on the log. And now the turtle's taking up from 4.8 to 6.3. So I'm at 3.7. I think that if I just stay still, I should be good. Maybe I should move to the right, actually. Let's just go to the next time N. So, moving to the next time N, we gotta pay attention to the offset of the current water object we're on, so we're gonna add 0.7 to our leftmost subunit. And now this thing takes up 4.7 to 6.6. So if we stayed where we were, we're going to be taking up 4.4 to 5.3, which will share subunits with the log, with the next set of turtles. But we're going to be hanging on the left edge of the turtles. However, if we moved to the right in Generation 12, we would instead be taking up 5.4 to 6.3. This set of turtles is taking 4.7 to 5.6, and then 5.6 to 6.3. 5.6 to 6.5, my bad. Meaning, the entire frog will be on the turtles, so we can actually move left or right at our leisure. So, I'm going to be moving right to Generation 12 to get us into this good position. And then we're going to move up in Generation 13 to get us to this, to get us onto the next set of logs. Let's move to time N equals 14, and then we got to pay attention to the object that we're on, and apply its offset, so minus 0.1, we're at 5.3. The next set of logs is from unit 3.8 to 5.7. We're at 5.3. We could move up, but we're going to be hanging up the right edge of the log. What I will instead do Actually, I'm not sure I can afford waiting another generation, because this log is moving wickedly fast. So at n equals 15, what happens? The log's now taking up units 6 to 0.9. So it's actually moving really fast. In fact, if we stayed... So in Generation 14, if we move up, what's going to happen is that we move from here to here. We're hanging off the right edge of the log. However, when we went to time n equals 15, we're going to add 2.2 to our leftmost subunit, but hey, that's at 7. That can't be right. So, if your leftmost subunit ever goes above 6, because the frog will be taking up units 6 to 6.9, it will actually ground at 6. At n equals 15, we will be taking up 6 to 6.0. And actually, this is fine for us, because this log would be, this set of turtles is from 5.5 to 1.4. So we can move up. But let's say that the turtle was not in a convenient position. Let's say it was at like 1.0. So if it's at 1.0, and it's only moving 0.5 towards the left, it's just going to be stuck in 0.5 at its leftmost subunit. And then we're stuck on the log at this position. What I said earlier about the log shoving you off potentially would happen, because the log would be moving at 2.2 towards the right. It would wrap around towards the left, because it's moving at 2.2 subunits, so then it would push off the frog. This is not the case, though. So, we're at n equals 14, and we're here. So what I'm going to do is move up. If I didn't move up, or if I stayed still, if I stayed still and moved left, then this would happen. What would happen is that at n equals 15... oh shoot, where am I actually? I'll have to figure that out later. Actually, no, I'll figure it out right now. I'm at 5.3, okay. So, if I stayed on this log in Generation 14, I would subtract 0.1 to keep with the offset. Now I'm taking up 5.2 to, actually, I would be in Generation 15, so I'd be taking up 5.2 to 6.2. I could still move to the log, but once I move up, that shoving off thing would happen in Generation 16. So I can't afford to waste any time moving left or staying still. I have to move to the log this generation, or the log will just leave me behind. So, in Generation 14, I was here. So, what we're going to do is move up to this log, move to the next time n, add 2.2, it's greater than 6, so we're going to ground it at 6. And then, like we said earlier, we can safely move up to the next set of turtles, because it's from 5.5, 5 to 6, 6 to 0, 0 to 1. We would be safely on the turtles. So let's move up, because we share enough subunits. Let's move to time n equals 16. Then apply the moving objects offset to our leftmost subunit. Now we're taking up subunits 5.5 to 6.5. So, we're now trying to get to this goal. We would be centered around here. If we moved up from here, we would be sharing units. Actually, no. Actually, yes. Sorry. So if our leftmost subunit was at 5.5, it would be here, which is the leftmost edge of the grass. If I moved up, I would go smack dab in the middle of the grass. So I'm not going to go up right now. In fact, I'm going to stay still. You can notice that the offset of our current moving object is 0.5. So if I subtract 0.5, my leftmost subunit is now 5 at n equals 17. Which means I would share 5 subunits with the goal. In fact, I may have been wrong earlier. This is at 5.5. Oh, my bad, I was wrong. So at 5.5, I would be here. So I would share half the subunits with the goal. But if I'm here at n equals 5, at x equals 5, the leftmost position is 5. So, earlier, when I was at the leftmost subunit at 5.5, I would have shared 5 subunits with the goal. Because the goal is from units 5 to unit 6. I would have shared 5.5 to 5.9. So 5.5, 5.6, 5.7, 5.8, 5.9. By staying still and then moving up, I moved left 0.5 subunits. No, I moved left 5 subunits, half of a unit. And then my leftmost subunit is now 5. So when I move up now, my leftmost subunit will be here, and I'm going to land firmly in the middle of the goal. I like to finish in style, so I'm going to do that instead. And inputting this string of inputs will solve the module. Up, up, right, right, up, stay, up, left, right, up, stay, up. And when we press submit, the frog will perform your program moves. And you'll have to wait and see if you program it correctly. Let's see. And that is a solved Ribbit program. The module will continue doing its little thing. You can watch it as much as you want, but it'll probably be a distraction. You can't really turn it off, though, so, whatever. Oh, wow. I spent a long time with this tutorial. You can kind of see why I'm not doing another example, I hope. Well, thank you for watching this tutorial. I didn't go over the reset function, but the manual should explain it pretty well. Does it? Yeah, you can press arc to reset to the initial state of the module. So, actually, I will show this
All
off real
available
quick.
experts, please report to room A9.
Let's do some random inputs. Let's move right, then move up. I'll be on the road here. I'm fine to move up again. And you know what? That's probably going to be out of the way. That'll be fine. That'll be fine. Let's just move right up, and yeah, I'll probably make it the goal. Yeah, let's just do this. Oh no!
I'm afraid I can't take it.
Oh dear, the frog has ran into a car and has suffered death. Okay, well, now what do I do? Well, just press the reset button. And also, the reset button will clear your input. Good on it. Alright, that's well and good. Let me get out of here to do the outro. Thank you for watching this, this tutorial. It was all over the place, but I sure hope you got what you needed from it. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Because I may have missed some stuff, this module has a lot going for it. I just wanted to show off my strategy to solving it. You gotta keep a lot in mind. You gotta make sure that you're keeping in mind these are the leftmost subunits. But if you just keep this in mind, you can solve Ribbit programming pretty much every time with the strategy. Might come into some snafus, like if you're stuck at the right side of the screen and then the log's not coming, then you might just be in a pickle. So, thank you for watching, and have a nice day.